Hello, Sean.
Rich Neher, how you doing?
I'm good.
I should say guten Tag.
Guten Tag. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm just thinking my German friends that I met in Peru, because that's where you meet German people, right? My German friends that I met in Peru all said I would sound good speaking German. So ever since then, I have a new game. I'll let Bobby in. I have a new game I play with the kids, and let me know if you appreciate this as your native German speaker, right?
Okay. Yes, I am.
I have a new game, and the kids have to hit 8 tennis balls. So it's a hand-fed back and forth game with a beginner. We just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I do it in German. So when we get to 8, it's also a little teaching thing that I do. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I yell out octopus, and they hit the last ball. And all the kids realize then that that's where we get the 8 legs from the octopus thing, is from the German, I would assume, the German word for 8. But since then, I've been using that as one of my favorite games with the kids.
You're probably right, man. I've been a little bit removed from much of the German, although I just returned from Germany. Went there in October.
Yeah.
In March.
Yeah, this past recently, right?
Yeah, I went for Carnival.
That's right. That's right. I like it. All right, Bobby, I like the hat. Good look.
Thank you. It was cold today.
Yeah.
Is it in Atlanta? How cold is it?
It was high 30s. Tomorrow, actually, we got a freeze warning again tomorrow morning. So we got a couple more days of winter this week, and then hopefully we'll turn the corner. But yeah, this week we're going to have some cold mornings.
Boy, speaking about cold, it's cold here. But tennis players in Southern California, when it's below 75, they get out the earmuffs and the gloves and everything.
I still do that here.
Really?
Ever since, so I was mid-20s, went through 6 months of chemo for Hodgkin's lymphoma. And ever since then, I had 2 major side effects from that. One, I never got my contacts in again. So I had to go get glasses, and then I had LASIK. I never got my contacts in after chemo.
Wow.
And my fingers can't handle anything below about 45 degrees. Just can't handle it.
Interesting.
Yeah. The things that happen as we get older.
Tell me about it.
And we are here. Let's see. We're live. I like to do the YouTube thing. We don't have a lot of followers on YouTube. Building the category there. Usually that's for our video recording backup, and also.
Can you hear me well? Can you hear me well?
My smoking hot Ecuadorian wife is always watching as well, so we got to make sure she keeps an eye on us. Make sure we don't say anything stupid.
Hey,
Can you hear, Rich?
I'm using this thing. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I was going to ask about your sound. You sound better than previously.
Yeah, I'm using a new microphone.
Very nice. Which one are you using? Do you get brand and
something Chinese?
The Chinese brand. Okay.
I wanted to buy a wireless microphone. Ended up with a wired microphone. I don't know how that happened, but I like it.
Unless you're traveling, unless you're walking around, wired is just the way to go. It just go ahead and plug it in. You have 0 issues. Just plug it in if you can.
Will do. Here we go.
I like that. And let's see, I threw that up on there, and we are going to jump right in because I want to ask Rich. We spoke last summer or so, I think it was. You had not yet come out with City Slams, or do I have my timing wrong there?
I had not come out. This is a recent thing. We started basically in January.
Right. So City Slams did it come out of Conga? So if I back you up and say start with Conga Sports, which is a couple of years in now. Mm-hmm. So catch us up on where everything is.
Yeah. When I wrote my vision document for Conga Sports, that says in our unpublished mission statement that we'll be 10 times better than the USTA, this one. The City Slams as the flagship program was already in there. This was in August of 2021. But the time wasn't right. I needed to do things first and needed to get my feet wet in creating programs and stuff. And the time is right now.
Okay. And so Conga Sports is kind of a catch-all. Is it Conga Sports is what exactly? What is Conga Sports, and how does City Slams? How is it a product of Conga Sports? Tell us how it works.
Okay, so Conga Sports is a product of my frustration with the USTA of not being able to create an organization where people say, yes, I want to be a member of that organization because it's fun, it's cool, it's tennis. So I talked to people at the USTA about this, especially Mike Dowsey, the former CEO, and it's not in their DNA. So fun is not in their DNA, although they're using this word now a little bit more to show that they know what it is. But I decided to do it myself. But the premise of Conga Sports, actually, the overarching premise is to make tennis more affordable for everyone. And the way we elected to do this is with by shifting the entire model, the entire economic model from the player as a payer to the sponsor as a payer. Example, when you sign up for a tournament at Conga Sports, and let's say the registration fee is $80, we'll find a sponsor, a local store, a local restaurant, a local something that will pay that $80 for you. Or if they don't want to, they can give you a gift certificate to their store worth maybe $120, something like that. That's one example. The other example is if you want to become a member in Conga Sports, which is still only $50 a year, we will, Head Pen Racket Sports will actually give that person a gift certificate for $50 for their product. So these are the examples. And of course, City Slams as a program where players play for their city, which currently has a team currently has 8 players, and a team fee of $400. We will find a sponsor to pay those $400 for the team. If we can't, we will let them play for free. That's our thing.
Wait, you find the sponsor to cover my $400?
Yeah.
Bobby, how do we get signed up? I'm in.
We'll be coming to Georgia. Don't you worry about it.
Well, that's obviously the next
question.
question.
Take another 2 years, but we will be there.
That's Bobby's next question is, how do we get it here? How does that work? And, when do you take over California first and then you got to get through Arizona and whatever's in between?
Yeah, I can't do certain things too fast. So the proof of concept here for City Slams is 2023. So at the moment, I'm putting teams together. We start playing actually on the 25th of March, the first group of teams. And we are creating the Southern California City Slams champion. And while we are playing in Southern California, I am going to go up to Northern California, do the same there. So towards the second half of 2023, we will have a Northern California City Slams champion. And in November, believe it or not, we'll have those 2 champions play off against each other for the California State Championship. While this is all going on, at the end of the year, I'm going to other states, Arizona, Washington, Oregon, and so forth, Nevada, and create the City Slams championships there. And you're far away from us, so maybe in 2 years we will get to Georgia. But there's no reason why, when the concept is proven and when we know how things work and why they work and how to improve them, there's no reason why we could start in areas like Georgia or Florida, where we have a lot of people interested already, and start playing there earlier.
Bobby, you have thoughts?
Well, first, what is the format of the teams playing? You said 8 players. How does it break down as far as playing against each other?
It's 2 women and 2 men. Sorry, 4 women and 4 men. They are playing 2 men's doubles, 2 women's doubles, and 2 mixed doubles.
Gotcha. Okay. So
And
not a world team. Is it a full matches or
no,
team tennis shorter? How do you get it done?
it is full matches is a concept that is not what we want to do. We don't do things the way it's being done in the industry. Everything we do is oftentimes the opposite of it's being done. So we have short matches, 8-game sets, and an entire group of 4 teams can play the entire round robin in 3 hours.
So everybody comes to one particular place to play, all the teams.
They come to one spot and play. If there's more than one group, we'll have, after that, we'll have quarterfinals or semifinals and then finals. And the time commitment is minimal because we only play like once a month.
So how many matches lead up to the championship playoffs? What is the season?
Depends on how many teams are in there.
Gotcha.
It can be 2 or 3 or 4 matches.
So the fascinating part to me is how do you approach, or what is the incentive for the business entity to sponsor somebody to come play in your league?
Well, the incentive is we provide eyeballs through City Slams, eyeballs, and we promote the business. We'll give them exposure. We let them, if they want that, we let them do some brand activation on court if they want that, if it's possible for them. And they'll be featured in all our press releases everywhere. So we'll give them local exposure. That's important. It's going to be local sponsors and they get local exposure. Like the first sponsor we had is a local real estate company here.
I like that model with the keeping it close to home.
Yes. So at the same time, of course, we're looking for title sponsors in the future, for presenting sponsors, for other sponsors like companies that can do swag bags, tennis warehouse. Where are you?
I've asked a similar question recently.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
I'm picturing, like, I get my team together and Bobby and I are on the Atlanta team, and we go to the local, I'm going to make something out. We go to the local Mexican restaurant. So I've got Paco's Tacos, and I'm wearing my shirt at the event, and that's why they spend the $400, that kind of thing. Like, that's kind of part of the idea of I'm wearing my Paco's Tacos shirt while we play.
If you want that to be part of it, of course, yeah. Maybe we have to up the $400 to include some shirts in there. But yeah, we tell the local restaurant, hey, we'll do your promotion for a while. Let's see if we can get you some customers.
Gotcha. And in that case, how are you doing the math? What's your CPM? Do you have a math that says, okay, we're going to do this event. Here's the tournament. It's going to be at this tennis facility, and we're going to get you 3,000 people coming through, and therefore is the $400 kind of a strange question to ask, and I'm putting it on the spot. If you don't want to talk numbers, I get it. But is the $400 kind of an arbitrary number right now, or you guys have costs and how that works?
Right now, it's an arbitrary number.
Okay. But
I can tell you one thing: when the proof of concept is over, and the world will see how well this works and how unique this entire program is, I can guarantee you one thing: the cities will stand in line to be part of it and to sponsor their teams. I don't think in the future, especially if a team is successful and goes on, becomes a state champion, becomes maybe regional champion, and is on their way to become a national champion, the cities will stand in line to sponsor that team, to pay for everything, for travel, for food, hotel, everything for that team, because it's going to be a promotion for that city too.
So in that case, I'm no longer wearing my Paco's Tacos shirt. I'm wearing my City of Atlanta shirt.
No, you're wearing your Tacos shirt, and you have a sticker on that shirt that says City of Atlanta.
And then my not tennis warehouse on the side, because we haven't heard back from
Warehouse
them.
on the side, maybe, yes. Don't forget, the entire Conga Sports City Slams program is supposed to look, sooner or later, will look like a pro tour. I call it the tour for the little guy. I am approaching the WTA and the ATP to partner with us. So far, they haven't been very receptive to that idea. But I told Steve Simon, we will have more fans than he does in a few years.
I like that confidence.
Yeah, we are creating fans. I haven't told you that yet. Part of City Slams is to create a fan base of people who will come and watch recreational tennis and pay for it. And how do we do this? Just by creating a tennis show around the matches. Similar to what my friend Jesse Cole does in Georgia with the Savannah Bananas. I bet you heard of them, right?
I haven't heard of the Savannah Bananas. I don't even know Jesse Cole. I'm like, wait a minute, there's a name I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Hold on.
All right. Something we weren't expecting. Savannah Bananas.
Hold
I'm
on.
Googling them.
I'm actually communicating with the man.
Jesse Cole.
Jesse
fans
Cole.
is first. Okay.
Look, picture this. Picture this. There is a a baseball club of the Coastal League, minor league in Savannah, Georgia. They had, before this man Jesse Cole took over as the owner and manager, they had in their 4,000 seat stadium, they had 100 or 200 people coming to home games, right?
Okay.
Now, fast forward to this 2023, they have every home game is sold out with 4,000 people, and they have a 10,000 people waiting list to come for season tickets.
And this is
They have fans all over the world, from Georgia to Tokyo. Everywhere in the world, they have fans who are traveling to Georgia to watch matches if they can get tickets.
tennis matches.
Not tennis.
No, baseball.
That is baseball.
Baseball?
This is baseball. Yeah, this is baseball.
So how does he do it? He creates this show around baseball. I want to do the same, although I told him already, I'm not creating a clown show. He does a lot of clown show stuff, which is very attractive to baseball people. I don't think it'll be attractive to tennis folks, but we'll still create a show around City Slams, basically at the moment for the higher level matches, like the Southern California state championships and the state championships.
And so create a show. Bobby comes to me the other day. We should be doing what, AC/DC concerts at the end after matches in Atlanta. And
is that music? You will see the two conga drums there.
Yeah,
that's something you will hear here at the matches. Of course, we'll have an umpire who is also a host who likes to speak and is funny, and potentially a funny tennis pro. And we'll have program for kids, for adults. We have show matches where, for instance, a junior will challenge everyone in the audience for a game, and he'll kick everyone's butt. I can guarantee you that. And stuff like this. There will be a lot of things around recreational tennis player matches. You know what I mean? Recreational 7-0 combined. That's bad tennis compared to the pros, okay? But it'll still be funny. People will come and pay to watch those matches.
Okay. I'm in.
Bobby smiles.
I'm in.
I love the minor league baseball. I mean, I went when I was getting my graduate degree in sports administration. I didn't make it as a player, so my thought was I was going to go through the minor league system in baseball and make my way to the Yankees that way. And that's all. If you remember the movie Bull Durham, And
Of course.
the clown prince of baseball, Max Pankin, was, literally would go out and talk, and it was fun because you had to, because you're in these small towns and you had to make it a complete show. You were going out there, and unfortunately for baseball, it's just so rudimentary that they've never been able to take. But I was just reading some of the things about, there's a time limit, which baseball fights the time limit all the time. They're trying to speed up the pitchers. I loved when I laughed. It was because if you hit a foul ball and the fan catches it, it's an out. I'm like, well, that's awesome. So it's interactive. So, I mean, it's an experience, and I am a fan of experiences that, the more you get the people to participate, obviously, the more they're going to take hold in it. My thing, though, where it's Savannah, you're going to go on a ghost tour, you're going to go to the beach, or this is something to do. How do you compete in the bigger cities? When you say Southern California, how much geography are you covering?
Southern California?
Yeah.
It goes from the Mexican border up to Lancaster, Palmdale, Bakersfield even.
Wow. So you're going past LA. You're going past northern.
You're going past LA, of course, yeah. I don't know if you know, but it's the San Diego area that is the hotbed of tennis in all of Southern California. So they have more pros in San Diego than anywhere else, and more players. But we are creating stuff. I don't want to copy some of the things Jesse Cole is doing. Like, he has those men coming in women's underwear and stuff. And he has those competitions where people throwing bananas at players' privates. It is just hilarious. People love what he's doing. And he has this old senior citizen ladies ballet. They come on the grounds and they just start dancing. But he calls it fans first. That's something that is really, really important. And I will do the same, fans first. It'll be a show where people come home and say, that was great. And they spread the word because they loved it and they want to come back next time. And it's not so important how good the tennis is.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole event. It makes a lot of sense. And my wife would be open, if we're talking, bring the family, give me a chance to bring my wife and kids. And my wife's always been trying to figure that out. Jovi's always saying, why is tennis so competitive? I'm like, look at it. But coming from the competitive standpoint, but from a family standpoint, to bring people out, I think that's a great plan. I think that goes in the right direction, especially potentially for Atlanta, because we're a social tennis world.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, we'll have we'll encourage the players to bring family, of course, and it has to grow slowly. We'll do photos and videos and on-court interviews like the pros do. And it'll grow from there. The word of mouth will spread it. And of course, I have a publicist, and he'll do press releases, and he'll guide us to how to spread the word efficiently everywhere.
Well, sure, we got a sponsor for him too. Lena's Soul and Soul is in San Diego, isn't she?
I believe so.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll have to connect you with an orthotics company for foot health. And the CEO we just had on podcast, I think her episode is out in 10 days or so on our show, but we'll connect you with her because she might be interested in something like that, because she's not necessarily in general focused on tennis, but we got her talking about it for an hour or so the other day, and she seems to be realizing that's a good market.
Oh, no doubt about it. Over the weekend, I did a major campaign of marketing the idea to electric bike manufacturers, like 35 or so I approached, and I got some good response. So I will find
AI too.
Sorry?
AI, artificial intelligence. We got to get you goggles. There's 2 companies out there doing that we've spoken to, that there'd be, because that's laughs too. The people got the goggles on and they don't even know, with people watching them do it, they don't know how silly they look, but
with e-tennis sports and Sense Arena.
Here's an idea. Here is an idea, Bobby. Have people play with goggles on, but play real tennis? With
They do.
goggles on.
Hey, I love. I mean, like to do both. I'm like, this. I completely agree. I love the idea of the event, and and I've been saying that for however long I've been involved in tennis. And I tell Sean all the time. The first time the senior tour came here, I asked them, did they bother to see whether Georgia, because it was in October, and I asked, did you bother to see if Georgia and Georgia Tech were home this weekend? And they were like, well, what does that have to do with tennis? And I was like, okay. So I was also doing the sideline announcing. So I made a point on the Saturday matches to let everybody know who was winning and who was losing. And when Mississippi Auburn score came up and the crowd went crazy, the tournament director finally came over to me and said, "You proved your point. I get it now. We'll consider that. It's a totality of the thing. Why not have a television screen there if they want to watch 2 minutes of football to see the game and get back? Listen, like you said, you're making it fan friendly. You're doing it for the fans. We lose sight of that too often. We don't make it enough of a fan experience.
Sure, but I have to share your idea with the only other staff member I have at the moment is a director of fun, and she will love the idea. Imagine I have those goggles. And I take I put glass in the front so you can see through, and have people. They look like they are on an AI game, but they actually see through it and they can play real tennis.
They're playing with the goggles on.
I can also see people playing with diving gear and swim.
Oh, the fins
on the court, fins, diving gear. And tennis rackets.
I thought we were avoiding the clown show.
That's not clown.
Have you seen the clowns with their feet? That's almost literally a clown show.
Yeah, that's fun. I have one suggestion I got from someone playing with water-filled balloons for like one game.
Yeah.
Then have a lot of rocks available to mop up the water.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully we find a way to kind of rein some of those ideas in, and we'll filter out some of the ones that don't need to happen.
Yeah.
But that sounds like a lot of fun.
The entire thing is about making tennis more fun for people and for fans, not only for players, but for fans. We don't have the resources like Larry Ellison and the BNP Paribas. I just been there last week. He has unlimited resources of taking this to a very interesting level, very impressive. I've been going there for 20 years, and I just love what they're doing over there.
And I want to ask about that. I want you to talk further. I want you to talk further about that event, because my next question leads to, we've been talking recently about the Atlanta event. And if we were to compare the Indian Wells event to the Atlanta event, we wouldn't really have to put in much argument as to which one is more successful. So we want to kind of say, how do we take what's going on aside from the infinite resources, because that's always an issue, but try to take some of the ideas from the Indian Wells event and your point of view from there to say, have you looked at the Atlanta event at any point and said, "Ooh, you know what? Here are some ways you guys could improve"?
For these types of events, it's all about money. Money, money, money. How much money can you invest in an event? I remember the WTA CEO Steve Simon was the tournament director at the BNP Paribas for many, many years. And I remember a press conference where he and the president, Ray Moore, were talking about the event. This was in 2000, I want to say 2017 or so. And Ray Moore reported that the year before, the ATP were coming to them for a meeting, and they said, "We have plans for your tournament, and here are the plans. We'll turn it from 2 weeks into 1 week, make it a men's only tournament, and the women can play somewhere else." And everyone was shocked. Everyone was shocked. And Larry Ellison's reply was, "Over my dead body. We will now put $100 million into this event. Let's see what they say then." That's what they did. They put a lot of money in it, built another stadium, and improved this so much that people are calling for it to be the 5th Grand Slam now.
Right.
And so it's money that talks. If there's money available in Atlanta, this thing will flourish, or can flourish. If there's no money available, it will stay small. That's my
So
answer.
where is he applying the money? Do you say to obviously you're a fan of bettering the fan experience. So where is he putting the money that people could sit there and say, okay, this is not, we're not getting, because it always comes down, well, if we were higher, if we weren't at 250, we would get higher players. So what we're throwing that out saying it's really the fan experience. So where are they putting the resources to enhance the fan experience away from the idea of just making the players be the salespeople?
Yeah, well, the players, of course, he upped the player money tremendously, but the fan experience started with the facility. He improved the facility. It looks totally different now than it did 10 years ago. He added another stadium. He wants actually, the plans are to add a luxury resort hotel on the premises. There is I think they bought the neighboring property with a church. I think they bought that property and relocated that church. So it's facility improvements and improvements in many other areas, like, for instance, the food and beverage area. It comes, of course, with something. I'm not going to write about this in the mid-month issue of Tennis Club Business that's coming out in 2 days. It comes with one negative. The prices have gone up. You want to park your car far away from this from the stadium, you pay $25 for the parking, then you have to walk. The food, don't think you can get any inexpensive food there anymore. I had a not so average, it was a fish, some fish thing, and it was $19. The beer, if I had the beer with it, it would cost me another $15 for the beer. So, and the water, the bottle of water was $6. So it comes with some negatives, no doubt about it. I always, all my life, I have lamented the cost of tennis in this country. And it's not only the cost of playing if on a league or anywhere or in a tournament, and it's the cost of going to a big event. But I hear now that pickleball is doing the same now. The cost is going up so much. It's unbelievable. You want to play in the US Open pickleball as an amateur, be aware that the registration fee is $250 now. They're doing the same thing. I don't know. Why did I start with pickleball?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a different thing, but you're right. I mean, they're rushing it, and they should probably, that's what we keep hoping here is from a standpoint of a club, don't make all the same mistakes tennis made. Don't, here tennis is so free that pickleball still has some maneuverability where they don't have to overcharge to make any money because people do need the facilities. So it could be a win-win for everybody. Don't blow your opportunity. So it sounds, once you start seeing the lights and start seeing the opportunity for professional events, you got to up the money a little bit to get the athletes that you think are going to compete, but it'll take some of the little bit.
Do you want to know the second unpublished mission statement of Conga Sports? You know the first one, right? We will be 10 times better than the USTA. That's the first unpublished mission statement. The second one, we will not play pickleball, and as long as I own this company, we will never have pickleball in it. We are tennis.
There you go.
So much for unbiased journalist.
Well, I like pickleball. Don't get me wrong. I don't play it. I have played it. I don't play it. There's no one in my area that plays pickleball, and I frankly don't have time to start playing with other groups. Right. I have my own tennis group for 25 years now, and that's fine. They like the way I set up their matches. But I have no problem with pickleball except for the fact that they should get their own damn courts, of course. But yeah, but I don't have any other beef with pickleball. Many of my friends are pickleball players, and I like the fact that they are out there playing instead of sitting on the couch and complaining about tennis.
That's gonna be a meme we do with Rich's head. He's like, no, it's fine. Many of my favorite people are pickleball players.
Yep.
I can still like you.
I've been in the desert. When I stay in the desert for the BNP, I stay with a good friend of mine every year, and she is a pickleball coach, and she's one of the first pickleball coaches and players in the entire Coachella Valley desert area.
Okay, but pickleball, no pickleball for Conga Sports, or no pickleball for City Slams?
No pickleball for Conga Sports and City Slams.
Got it. No, just no pickleball. It's just not what you do, or because, like you said, you're not anti-pickleball. That's not what you do.
No, our low-hanging fruit and our expertise is in tennis. And if I sell the company in 10 years or so, and it will, and the new owner will do pickleball, fine, no problem. Maybe I'll be playing pickleball by then.
but you and I will be living in Ecuador by then.
Yes, Ecuador. That's the country to live in.
And we're going to be in Cuenca with our own pickleball court. We will take over the tennis courts, and we'll be the ones painting the lines, taking over the courts there.
So where in Ecuador will you be? I'll be in area between Guayaquil and the ocean somewhere, maybe at the ocean, on the ocean.
So toward what's the name of that town west of Guayaquil? Starts with an S.
Salina or something?
Salinas, thank you.
Salinas.
Yeah, we've got family in Quito and in Guayaquil. I think most of the family now in Guayaquil, in San Borondón, just outside one of their suburbs. And we've looked at the weather. We've looked at places we want to be. We're connected with my stepdaughter is the executive director of a nonprofit called the Promise Project. And they are targeting helping kids in the Andes in an area it's near Riobamba. It's called Carjabamba, a little bit west of Baños, and which might be a place that others have heard of, which is why I'm giving directions. But we would be considering near there, and that's kind of a place that maybe halfway between Quito and Guayaquil, so kind of in the middle of the country there in the Andes region. So we might want to be close to that as well if we kind of have to pick a spot.
Well, you're picking the right area. South of Quito is where you have to be. Everything else, there's strong travel advisory at the moment to go north.
If you go closer to Colombia, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think I like your timing of 10 years from now. Like we're pushing on Go Tennis. We're pushing on the podcast. We'll get City Slams here. We'll be killing it. And then we'll do one event where everybody, it's $1 million a ticket. We'll do one event, just like Steve Martin said, one show, goodbye.
I did one stand-up comedy once in Hollywood. Just one night. And my presentation was the funniest in the whole evening. I got the most laughs, and it was called "Germans Are Not Funny."
I would pay good money to have that tape restored.
I even had a heckler. He was better than me.
Sometimes that helps. So you said you wanted to talk about the tournament as well, and we don't talk about Pro Tour, WTA, ATP very often here, much less much of what California is doing. But you're a friend of the show and a friend with Go Tennis, and we want to know what's going on with you and what you're doing, because at some point we'd love to plug some of that in here in Atlanta. Did you have something interesting about the tournament that's going on right now? We don't usually have a professional tournament segment, but is there something on your mind you want to chat about?
There's some anecdotes.
Okay.
I've been going there for over 20 years. And I remember in 2000, I think it was in 2002, I had this group in San Diego called the San Diego Tennis Network, 250 players coming together 4 times a week, and I arranged all those matches for them. I called it drop-in tennis. And so one day I said, let's go to Indian Wells and drive up to Indian Wells for a day of fun. And why not carpool to Indian Wells? So we had 11 people interested. And we met at the Bobby Riggs Tennis Club in Encinitas, and to leave our cars there. And we ended up driving in 9 cars.
That's not much of a carpool for 11.
That was my that was carpool. That was Southern California tennis players. They like their cars. They don't want to give them up and drive with anyone else.
Atlanta, we can relate.
You can relate. At another time in 2011, I think, there's another anecdote. I had participated in a collection of used tennis balls for a company that they have these cookers, these machines that repressurize used tennis balls. I forgot the name of the company. They're in Nebraska, I think. So they had this competition. If you ship the most used tennis balls for free, by the way, they provided the shipping labels to their facility in Nebraska. The first prize was 16 tickets for you and your best friends for an entire day in the B&B Paribas luxury suite.
Really?
Okay. The second prize was 8 tickets and the third prize was 4 tickets. I didn't know where I was in the standings. I started collecting, not only from friends, but I started collecting through social media. And I incentivized my tennis pro friends, telling them, the ones who send in the most balls for me, they will get 2 tickets to this thing, the same thing. So 2 days before the event, the number one was a tennis facility owner here in Long Beach. She had 3 tennis facilities, and she was sure she was the winner. She communicated to the organizer and knew she was way ahead of everyone else, 2,000 balls ahead of me. So I didn't know that because I never asked them, where was I? I thought I would never win this thing anyways. So, but at this weekend, 2 days before that Monday, I started another campaign and drove around in my little Kia Soul and collected tennis balls. And I collected 2,500 tennis balls that weekend and shipped them. So I won the whole thing. And the second and the third place, they couldn't believe that someone who doesn't have a court or doesn't have a club with courts would ever win this thing. So 15 of my best friends were enjoying a day of luxury. We had our own sushi chef.
Oh, wow.
We had a woman walking behind us with the champagne bottle to refill the glasses whenever we needed to. So that was the best thing that ever happened in Indian Wells for me. Besides one other thing, the tennis director of Indian Wells, Tom Fye, who passed away 2 years ago, he was very popular, and he had a tournament he organized during the Indian Wells Masters 1000, and it was for tri-level league players. At the time, 2009, 2010, tri-level was started by the USTA in many or all of the sections, but they didn't have a national path to championship. So this guy took it upon himself to create a championship and offered it to all the sections, and many of them participated. They sent their players to Indian Wells, and they could play tennis, tri-level tennis, while next door Rafa Nadal was practicing, stuff like this. And this was outstanding. And he asked me, I was the coordinator for NTRP for the USTA at the time. He asked me if I could help him during this tournament. And he gave me the most desirable pass you can have. The highest pass in Indian Wells at the BNP is called the Z Pass. And I was running around with a Z Pass, and which was great because the Z Pass opened every door in Indian Wells. Every suite you could go in and eat and drink. You could go in the women's locker room if you wanted to. I'd never wanted to. And I never did, of course. And it was just the most interesting thing. Running around with the Z Pass was just, you felt like God. Or at least like the president or something.
Somebody with access to everything.
Yes, access to everything.
I like it.
Of course, when I left the USTA's NTRP coordinator position, this was not possible anymore. They didn't give it to me anymore. But it was nice to have.
Nice while it lasted. Bobby, you
So
got
good
anything else for you?
memories, good memories. Sorry?
I was asking Bobby if he had anything else for you.
No, other than we might need to hook you up with Luke Jensen too. He'd be another good spokesperson for you. And he is actually spending some time in San Diego because he's been working with Coco Vandeweghe. So he's out there quite a bit.
I am looking for a spokesperson for quite some time now. I prefer a female, a younger female. I pledged to be the oldest person in my company. I don't want anyone older. I don't want anyone close to my age. I want young people and preferably females around me. So I'm putting my board of directors together at the moment, and most of them will be females.
There's
too many white older men in this business.
Well, that is the business. But the good news is they're dying to get out of it. I'm German too.
Very good.
Says the Schindler. Yeah, the three white men standing around complaining there are too many white people in the sport.
How is tennis in Atlanta? How is it going? The world tennis capital of the world.
Bobby, how are we doing with tennis?
I mean, they're playing again. I think we're back getting out of the pre-COVID. You know, they did take a hit during COVID, but I think it's come back. People are playing again. Again, I'm with you. It's what everybody's is trying to figure out how to make the game younger, and that's the challenge for Atlanta. The new generation. You know, I've been here 30 years already. It used to be you got here, somebody was sticking a tennis racket in your hand, and now I think the city has grown up. It's expanded some. So we're going through those kind of growing pains that it is really spread out. So the idea of Alta, as we read this past, somebody's driving 51 miles to play an Alta match, and it's just, it's starting to become an issue. But I do think the sport itself, I know I'm busy as can be. I think that the problems we have with our professional event could be solved with a shaded area, and maybe not playing in the middle of July in Atlanta, little things that could go a long way. But, and again, I think the good part about Atlanta is they got it before everybody else. They made it fun. They understood the idea of a team sport, make it recreational. Professional events, you can argue how successful, but you can't argue, as you said, and this is why, the concept, you do get fans coming to watch Alta matches. So, and that's doing nothing. If you had a bouncy house for the kids, you had adults, something that they could be doing, make them a part of it. It's not outrageous because it's the core of what we're trying to do is use the commonality of tennis and create more social opportunities for everybody to have fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just because we got older doesn't mean we don't want to have fun. I still want to have fun. And, so, Atlanta's always been a little ahead in that capacity. That's why there's two different hats. It's the recreational side of it and the professional side of it. The good news for the professional side is we got 80,000 recreational players. So if you can get some of them to become fans, you're starting with a bigger number than most places have.
Shouldn't it be more than 80,000? I mean, I remember when I interviewed the president of Alta, they had like 100,000 players. And USTA had 35,000. although they might overlap, of course.
Oh, there's a lot of overlap, and they're both lying because I don't think anybody's either one of them's got those high numbers. I think Alta's always, I think they maxed out at maybe mid 80s, and then USTA has always been the ugly stepchild, so they're always massaging their numbers, trying to get them a little higher so that it doesn't sound. But we have a flexible play league here, T2, that probably slots in between them. That probably does more volume, and of course there's repetition in all of them, but they probably do more than USTA for improving upon the little things, making it easier, making it a little more flexible, being a little bit saying you don't have to be here at 9:30 on a Saturday and spend 5 hours. You can make the time you want, and when you're done, you leave. So they capitalized on it. So it all goes back to, as you said, and I completely agree. I always laugh when we do pro-am events with our students. Everybody, I've always been a fan of making them play, and we would do a 5-minute exhibition. I'm like, guys, the people get the biggest kick out of the fact that we can just keep the ball alive. We're not doing anything spectacular. We're hitting the ball back, and if you can turn and look at them and talk to them while you're hitting the ball back, they think you're the Harlem Globetrotters. And it's like, we're not recreating the wheel. We get in our own way to take ourselves too seriously. And, we're big fans of fun. So we want to encourage the fun.
Well, one of the things we're trying to do is improve the transparency of that. So when you asked, you said, well, shouldn't you have more than that? Because 20 years ago, when you said you interviewed the president of Alta, do you remember what year that was? Was it?
No.
Don't remember. Okay. So
maybe 15 or so.
Gotcha. Okay. So we looked at the numbers. I think actually the last time we spoke to you, Rich, last year, I looked at the numbers and found about 56,000 paid memberships in 2019 was the most recent number I could find for Alta specifically. Now, that doesn't mean there are only 56,000 players. And one of the things we're going to do, I should say, with Go Tennis and the podcast here is we're going to shine some light on that. Where are the actual players? How much overlap is there? What is everybody doing here? And how do we get everybody to talk to each other rather than having it feel so my league, your league, if I win, you lose kind of scenario?
Well, at the time when I heard these numbers, I knew the USTA numbers from my work, but when I heard those numbers, I came to the conclusion that at the city of Atlanta has more league players than Northern and Southern California together.
Probably.
Yeah. There's no question. And almost to their detriment, they've been really hesitant to go. I mean, as the suburbs have continued to grow, they've been very stringent about keeping their lines. They're just now starting to expand into other areas, going a little further north than me. So, we expect those numbers to start going up again because they are just going to take on a greater geographic territory as well.
With some serious pushback.
Wouldn't you think that others would be able to copy what they are doing with the subdivisions in Atlanta, the Alta people?
Copy it?
Yeah.
Well, sure, you can copy it, but
no one does. See, I suggested that to like the Southern California Tennis Association, the USTA here.
Oh, you mean copy it and do it somewhere else?
Do it in Southern California because
why not?
Tennis courts are disappearing at an alarming rate.
The problem there is
the subdivisions still have their tennis courts.
Sorry, do you have the tennis courts in every neighborhood? Because the problem with that is if you do, if the demographic is similar and the courts are that readily available, then sure, I don't know why it wouldn't work. But a lot of people want to do it in an area where everything's a private club or a public park. And if you don't have those, what do we have, Bobby? Maybe 600 neighborhood facilities, just the 2-court facilities, that really is just, from what we can tell, different from anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I suggested that long ago to the Southern California tennis people. But they don't know.
And it absolutely goes to what you're talking about. Because I'm going to use the word again, pickleball, real quick. I have a friend who's doing local tournaments at pickleball, and the sponsors he's bringing out are the local contractors, the local real estate agents, the local guy who come in and do your bathroom, who will add an extension on, because they get immediate turnaround And they actually go, hey, they go out, they do the activation, and we're going to go to your house and we're going to do the measurements all in one, because it's that directly tangible. Where again, you got to give, Atlanta was just a perfect storm when it came to tennis. And I mean, Alta actually started in the 70s, and the league itself, and it grew a little bit. And then when the explosion happened in the early 90s, it was ready. The developers, to their credit, bought in wholeheartedly and said, hey, there's something to this. We're going to build every subdivision with at least 2 lighted tennis courts and a bathroom. So you can play Alta here. And it just grew incredibly. You had everything online. And again, 20 years ago when we were doing it, it was a lot like what you're talking about with the league. You just had a lot of smaller guys. You weren't worried about a car sponsor or a Verizon or anything. There was plenty enough to do with people that was directly tangible, that had some stake in improving the neighborhood. So it was easy back then. And the developers got it, to their credit. They got it. And because like you said, is it more beneficial for them to take those 6 tennis courts, or I have 12 tennis courts in my facility. That could have been 3-4 more houses, probably more money for them in the short term to put the 4 houses up. But do you sell the other 1,000 homes that you had without the amenity package that you created for them? That is essentially a country club.
What did you say earlier, that people were putting a tennis racket in your hands?
What's that?
Long ago, when tennis was this big boom, it was everywhere. People would put a tennis racket in.
Oh yeah, they just put a tennis. I mean, here you want to get to know people in Atlanta. Here, take a tennis racket. That's the quickest entry way. That was your social.
And today it's a pickleball paddle. They put it in your hands.
You're right. It's exactly, and it's such a different demographic. Now, it can only speak to here, but I'm really surprised. Yes, everybody immediately jumps to the older folks, but where I see a big influx is the young high school kids that want to go out. They hang out with their friends. It's almost like pickup basketball when I was growing up. It's cheap. You don't have to be real good, or you can be a lot better than you think you are. And, go out and do running commentary, do some trash talking, and just have some fun. And the courts are there. They're already available for you because we had the tennis courts. So that is a surprise to me how much the younger kids have taken to it. And that'll be the challenge to the future of Alta in Atlanta, is that generation of high school kids. If they relocate, if they come back here after college, their indoctrination is now going to be pickleball. Do they gravitate to tennis, or how does tennis deal with that 10 years from now? So that'll be, to me, the interesting challenge to tennis is in 10 years, when this first generation of pickleball is now coming back to work in the metro area, not just go to school and do what's associated with being a student.
Yeah, I see two reasons why people flock to pickleball. The younger people, because it's not as difficult to learn as tennis. Of course. There's not so much running involved, and then you don't need that many lessons. The effort you put into it to become pretty decent is very low. Yeah, that's of course a big incentive for lots of the younger people to do it. And for the tennis pros, I have to say that the reason for the tennis pros is not so much the financial benefit of lessons and groups and clinics and stuff. It's the fact that many tennis pros who are really busy for many years, they are a little burned out. They love to do something new.
Yes.
And many tennis pros, of course, immediately excel in pickleball. They have the learning curve is 1 day. Yeah. And so they love to do something else in addition to tennis that is still the main moneymaker, but it's more fun for them to actually do something else that is interesting too. Yes. And I understand that completely.
Yes, I agree. And I've been always very careful to avoid that burnout. Like, I do this, and I've always had a side project that is not tennis so when I'm on the tennis court, you stay fresh. And you're right, there's just a lot of people, they chasing the money, create a lifestyle, whatever it is, that, hey, and that's the scary part too, because it goes back to who ends up teaching pickleball is still the same old white guys that, because they got burned out a little bit on tennis. So they're looking, so we're not really, we're changing the player maybe a little bit, but we're still not changing the communicator. And I think the whole sport is searching for the change. As you said, gosh, I just hired my first female and I'm done. You know, I had to fight for her because the demand is such, and like, it's like, if I could find 4, there's just a low demand. I mean, a low amount of instructors to begin with. And then if you're going to start getting picky, you're in real trouble here. I mean, there's no shortage. There's no shortage, whether they're good or bad, competent, but there's enough people, but it's hard to fill all the positions that we have. Everybody's a little bit in the same boat.
I was looking for a tennis coordinator in the Coachella Valley, and I wanted a woman. And everyone that was recommended to me was like in the high 70s or 80s.
Yep. Like, great. Dying to get into the game. Oh boy, yeah, they are.
Yeah, we need to surround ourselves with them.
And every time you say coach, when I moved to Los Angeles, worked in a law firm, and the first case I handled was the Coachella chemical fire back in the late 80s, early 90s. So I was down in there a lot, and we were always, but that whenever I hear Coachella, it brings back all the memories of, now they do a big music festival. It's like, it was the desert. There was nothing there.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I stay away from. I'd want to stay away from crowds. But that didn't happen last 2 weeks ago in Germany. Man, oh man, oh man.
Talk about crowds.
Picture this. My hometown has 160,000 people, right? Living. The carnival is like here, the same thing, or carnival in Rio is all the same thing. They have the same dates. So Rose Monday is the big parade, right? That's the thing. And then comes Fat Tuesday and Ash Wednesday. So Rose Monday, the town of 160,000 people had 650,000 visitors lining the streets for the 7-mile parade.
Wow. There's a shortage of bathrooms when that happens.
You got a bathroom issue, that's for sure. I like it. Hey, Rich, I want 2 last things from you. One, I need a men's winner of Indian Wells pick and a women's pick for Indian Wells. You'll be our first. We got to pick winners of a tournament. This is our new segment. We may only do it once.
Yeah, I want Taylor Fritz to win again.
Okay.
Period. He is in his prime, and he is hard to beat right now, when especially when Djokovic is not there. On the women's side, I'd love for Coco Gauff to go much deeper into the tournament, but I doubt that she will be able to beat Iga, not at this point. So my money is on Iga Swiatek again. I was a big fan of her until she started this clowning around thing between points when the opponent hit a ball and she started clowning. This put me off considerably. But I still think she is the best at the moment, and she will win.
All right, so Iga and Fritz. Bobby and I don't follow a lot of. I follow the men's, but we don't do. And from a podcast point of view, it's not what we target. But at some point, it's fun to keep up because it is the professional side of what we watch on television. Where Bobby and I picture professional tennis as the business of coaching, and as you do as well, Rich. You even mentioned your book. Not directly, but talking about the drop-in tennis. As soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, I got a copy of your book. And I want to mention that as well. But I appreciate the time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording and we're going to get out. And if we want to talk a little bit further, we will. But I want to say thank you very much. And we'll segment some things out and we will go off the YouTube first to make sure, because at some point, if we want to say something stupid,